Hello there, welcome to Jerez, or welcome back if you're just watching our Paddock Uncut, and to the first of the testing notebooks. I thought for the first day we'd have a look at some cars. It's been slightly difficult because they haven't all been on the track at the same time. We've got a Sauber coming in, so let's have a look at the blue and yellow Sauber in its new livery, thanks to Felipe Nasr, even though it's got that sponsor and not many other ones on it, but it's a bit of a departure for Sauber, but they seem to be going well. And really, it's been a story of two groups of people's days here on the first day at Jerez. There's been Mercedes Day, who've done, time of speaking, which is about 3:30 in the afternoon, 115 laps. And there's been everybody else's day. It has just been like that. So Mercedes in form with Nico Rosberg behind the wheel have just gone round and round and round. They've been pretty fast, but they've been ultra reliable. And let's not lose perspective. Yes, this is the Mercedes that was ultra reliable and was winning championships at the end of the Grand Prix last year. But this is an entirely new car. It's a new engine and it's a new car. So it's very impressive. We see the Williams go by, and we should see the Mercedes come through in just a minute with a sort of green front wing. They've been doing some aero testing. It's incredibly impressive for a brand new car to go out and do that, and certainly all the engineers that I've spoken to up and down the paddock from other teams have been saying, wow, okay, for a first day in a car. Here we go, there's Rosberg's Mercedes. That really is impressive. They sound a bit better. So really what we're looking at is that everybody's just got on top of the massive rule changes from last year, and they're producing the car now that they wish they had at the beginning of last year. Quick notice about people who aren't here, because a bit later on we'll go through once the sun has set and tell you about how everyone's day went. Lotus, they're not here because they only managed to get their car with the new Mercedes engine fired up at 4 a.m. on Sunday morning. And then it left Enstone just after that. So it left Enstone in the early hours of Sunday morning, went to Birmingham Airport, got on a specially chartered cargo plane with all the bits they needed with the car, and flew over to Jerez. We believe it is now at the circuit. We have a look at the Williams again. Oh, a little bit of a lock-up for Valtteri Bottas. And then it'll be ready to go. So not the ideal start for Lotus. At least they will be here for days 2, 3 and 4, unlike Force India, who I understand were planning to run the 2014 car. You would have known that if you'd watched the Mexico notebooks that we sent you a little bit earlier on in this month. And they were planning to run the 2014 car, but they wanted to what's the best way of saying this? Sell the seat, really, to a young driver who wanted to get some time in a Formula 1 car in return for a small consideration. But they couldn't find anybody who wanted to buy the seat for the first Jerez test, so they decided not to come. But both Perez and Hulkenberg, Sergio Perez and Nico Hulkenberg, both knew that they weren't going to do this test no matter, even if they had brought the 2014 car here rather than 2015 car here. So didn't really make much difference to them. But that's why Force India aren't here, and of course Caterham and Marussia. You know the story there, although we were see whether there's any life left in the Manor F1, formerly Marussia. Okay, so let's see if we can see one more car here. I just want to show you something on the Williams, actually. That was a bulge, interesting bulge in the engine cover around the Martini logo. Let's see if you can see it when they come through here. Here's Bottas. And what they've done, you have a look at the gearbox towards the back of the car. Very, very tight, isn't it? And they've traded that area where they had some radiators and some cooling area where they had it actually using an aerodynamic blockage to the back of the car. They've traded that and they put some of those radiators a little higher up in the engine cover, and that's why you see that sort of bulge around there. So it's actually better to move that further up in the car than have it down at the bottom. All right, let's just take one more look at Rosberg on track, getting on the power. And we will reconvene in a moment, me and JD. By the way, sorry if Pete isn't here, but I haven't seen him since Mexico City, actually. It's slightly odd. I left him in a club called Coco Bongos, and I haven't really seen him since. So if you do know where Pete is, if you've seen him, then email us at f1@skysports.com. So me and JD will stop here, and then we'll go and have a look, listen to what everybody else has to say at the end of the day, and continue the notebook a little later on. Well, it's some time later and we're in darkness, and let's start with McLaren, shall we? McLaren Honda, there we go. And well, it's been a difficult day for them. I mean, I think they knew that they were going to get a different day, but we got sort of chapter and verse from Ron Dennis as some Honda engineers are in the paddock here. Konnichiwa. Konbanwa in the evening. And Ron Dennis was talking about this, actually, the sort of integration of the Japanese side of what is now the team into the race team. And he said, there is an issue with language and with translating, and he said, it's inevitable when Honda came back into Formula 1. First of all, Ron said that they realised that they'd made a mistake by leaving, and that they would be in Formula 1, as Ron Dennis said, quote, forever. And as Eric Boulier comes out, bonsoir, bonsoir. And it's all right, I'm not after an interview, I'm just talking about your team. And he said it would be difficult. And indeed, it has turned out to be difficult, both in translation and also in actually sorting out the car, because, well, it wasn't a good day for McLaren. Let's not sugarcoat it. They were last. They only did 6 laps, and of them it was only 1:40.7, 18 seconds off the pace. The reason was because they had some sensors which weren't talking to each other, and it was the typical reasons that Red Bull had this time last year, or anybody else had this time last year. But they are confident, as much as they can be, the team, that when they sort these little niggling electronic problems out, with sensors not talking to each other and there was a short circuit and trying to fix it, that the car will be there, because they've gone for performance rather than straight off reliability. They have built this car with an amazingly tight packaging at the back to make it, for aerodynamics, and they've said that we want the performance first and then we'll sort out the reliability. Okay, that's fine, but let's hope that they do indeed sort out the reliability. But they've seen from all their figures on dyno that they do think they have inherent performance in this Honda engine, and they know what to aim for because they had all the information from Mercedes that will see them, get somewhere near podiums and wins as the season develops. Fernando Alonso was quite sanguine about it. When I spoke to him, you probably already heard that. He was saying, look, it'll come. And about the livery, Fernando said, it's still strange to see myself in black and white. Ron Dennis says the livery will change. I'm just not telling you when. You might think it was a bit of a missed opportunity for them not to invoke the old red and white. But when I asked Ron about that, he said, all right, where's your checkbook? And I said, well, what do you mean? He says, the only reason to change the livery is for aesthetics, and aesthetics don't pay the bills. So clearly he wants to change the livery. Who's that going in there? It's Gutierrez. He wants to change the livery for somebody who wants to pay for it. So there you go. I thought the silver was down to a previous cigarette sponsor of theirs back in 1997 and Mercedes, but there you go. I must have been wrong on that. Right, let's talk about Ferrari. Shall we then? Good day for them. Sebastian Vettel saying it was a good start. They were fastest with a 1:22.6 on the medium tyre and did 60 laps. They had a few telemetry problems, which meant that it sort of curtailed their running usual. There's James Allison. JD, go and have a look at him. He's on his phone back to Maranello, I'm sure. Telemetry problems, which are usual sort of the first day of running, and that kind of curtailed it. But, I really got the feeling that Sebastian Vettel kind of had his mojo back. I asked him about this. He said, I don't know, so much of whether I've got my mojo back, but it was a big change. And this is the first proper day. I'm happy we did a decent amount of laps. And I'm happy at Ferrari. I've been there a lot over the winter. I've got a feeling for how the team is. And, I feel like I'm motivated. I think that was the problem. Maybe he wasn't particularly had the full motivation, but he's got that motivation back. He said the chassis doesn't have a name yet. You remember his previous ones, Susie or Kinky Kylie or all the rest of it. But Sebastian said that I'll decide with the mechanics before the first race in Melbourne and decide, depending on how testing has gone, name the chassis after that. But he's happy here, feels Ferrari's a little more like Toro Rosso than Red Bull. But as he said, it was a good starting point today. Lots of different things on the steering wheel take into account, and it does take time. Couldn't really feel whether the car was much better than last year's Red Bull or not, but it was all a good start. And he says on his helmet, he says, I wanted to go a little bit retro. And indeed he did, just with the simple colours that he wants to keep for some time, he said. So it looks like he's not going to change. After 15 years of running Red Bull branded helmets, he's gone with a new one. Okay, Mercedes, that's an interesting shot, isn't it? Blimey, is that contract negotiations volume 312? Over a nice bit of pasta. Lewis Hamilton saying that the contract negotiations, it would be nice to sort out the sticky bits of his contract negotiations. We should probably leave them in peace, JD. You're doing sterling work there, mate, on a bit of snooping. But it would be nice to, Lewis said it would be nice to sort out the sticky points of the contract renegotiation. But Toto said that we trust each other and we're sure we'll get that done. I asked Toto about Lewis Hamilton kind of diverging into music, which he loves so much, and hiring these sort of music specialists as a PR firm. He says, do you know what, whatever makes Lewis Hamilton happy is good for us. He's a superstar, he's a celebrity, and his image is good for us. So we're not going to dissuade him to do. We don't think he's going to lose focus or anything like that. You know, he is absolutely committed and he's going to be on it. But Mercedes, do I need to say anything? World record. The best day that any of us can imagine for one team on an opening day of testing, 695 kilometers, 17 live pit stops, third fastest time of the day on the medium tyre, but it didn't matter ever, of course. Toto Wolff saying it was the best day, first day ever. Nico Rosberg saying he was very happy, but he hurt his, well, he felt his neck, he said. He could really feel his neck after that 157 laps, I'm sure he could. I'll talk about Lewis Hamilton's engineers who replaces Jock Clear tomorrow when he's been in the car. But interesting point that Paddy Lowe made. First of all, he said we've had to recondition the car. The 2014 car was built around the Frick suspension system, so we've done a lot of work reconditioning this car to sort of change the suspension and maybe mimic some of the effects of the Frick suspension system. And we're quite happy with what we've done there. But he said, you know, it's not a case of, you know, over-engineering the car, perhaps, because of course now that the engines need to do 5 races, all the power units need to do a quarter more work this year than they did last year, because we've got one more race, and they need to last for 5 races rather than the 4. Well, you've only got 4. Sorry, you've only got 4 engines for the whole season rather than the 5 engines, if you see what I mean. And the gearboxes have to. Have I got that right? Yeah, I've got that right. The gearboxes need to sorry, I haven't got that right, by the way. I'm just trying to get this done. Gearboxes need to last 6 races. All right, Lotus, they are not going to be, I'm running out of time. The Lotus are not going to be race testing tomorrow because they're still building the car for the reasons that you heard earlier. Red Bull said it was a decent enough day for them. There's a whole discussion about this camouflage livery, which we will talk about tomorrow because we haven't got time now, whether actually underneath it it's just disguising the 2014 car or not. Adrian Newey says no, it really is the 2015 car. We've just put the camouflage livery on to throw people off the scent on some interesting stuff, shapes and curves and suspension geometry and stuff like that we've done. Okay, well, I'll believe them on that one. Toro Rosso, decent day-ish for them. No, it wasn't. Hang on, it was a terrible day. I'm talking about Sauber. 46 laps, slowest apart from Alonso. Carlos Sainz having a little bit of trouble, but we'll talk more about Toro Rosso tomorrow. Sauber, great day for them compared to last year. Valtteri Bottas got out of the car, and Pat Simmons said this as well. He said, sometimes, you know, you can instantly tell whether a car is good or not, whether we're going down the right path. And they both believe they are going down the right path. So good day for Williams. And finally, a thought on Sauber. After a nightmare of last year where they didn't score any points at all, they managed the 2nd fastest time today with Marcus Ericsson. I've got it here somewhere. Was on P2 on a 22.7. 73 laps for Marcus Ericsson. So things are looking up for Sauber. Okay, sorry it was a bit rushed, but join us for more info from Jerez in the Notebook tomorrow. Bye-bye.
Enjoy Sky Sports F1 Live. On all screens, on the go, and the best bits on demand.